shield your back and keep your counsel and give my life for yours if need be. I swear it by the old gods and the new.
The faith of the Seven is a new religion in Westeros. The new gods refer to the faith of the seven, old gods refer to the weirwood trees, but the faith of the seven is the dominant religion of Westeros. Everywhere with the exception of the North and the Iron Islands. The faith of the seven originated across the Narrow Sea in Andalos. According to legend, in the oldest of the holy books, the seven-pointed star, it is said that the seven themselves walked among their people in the hills of Andalos, and it was they who crowned Hugor of the Hill and promised him and his descendants great kingdoms in a foreign land. The faith taught that the seven themselves had once walked the hills of Andalos in human form. Okay. The Father reached his hand into the heavens and pulled down 7 stars. Tyrion recited from memory, and one by one he set them on the brow of Hugor of the Hill to make the glowing crown. The maid brought him forth a girl as supple as a willow with eyes like deep blue pools, and Hugor declared that he would have her for his bride. So the mother made her fertile, and the crone foretold that she would bear the king 44 mighty sons. The warrior gave strength to their arms, whilst the smith wrought for each a suit of iron plates. This actually sounds like a crock of shit. If these people walked the earth in human form, then these people were just people. It was only years of legend and or fools that turned them into gods. The Septons and the Septas teach that it was the gods themselves that foretold of this beautiful fertile land to the west, and this is why the Andals went to Westeros. But the actual histories provide a better reason. It is more likely that the Valyrian tide was spreading in Essos and forced them to abandon their lands and flee to Westeros for safety. A race of tall, fair-haired warriors who came with steel and fire and the seven-pointed star of the new gods painted on their chest. The wars lasted hundreds of years, but in the end, the 6 southern kingdoms all fell before them. Only here, where the king in the north threw back every army that tried to cross the neck, did the rule of the first men endure. The Andals burnt out the weirwood groves, hacked down the faces, slaughtered the children where they found them, and everywhere proclaimed the triumph of the seven over the old gods. If we fast forward, when word of Aegon's landing first reached Old Town, the High Septon had locked himself within the Starry Sept for 7 days and 7 nights, seeking after the guidance of the gods. He took no nourishment but bread and water, it was said, and spent all his waking hours in prayer, moving from one altar to the next. And on the 7th day, the crone had lifted her golden lamp to show him the path ahead. If Old Town took up arms against Aegon the Dragon, his High Holiness saw that the city would surely burn, and the High Tower and the Citadel and the Starry Steppe would be cast down and destroyed. But that kind of sounds like common sense. Of course, Aegon was already burning people, so you knew you couldn't defeat dragons. But anyway, I could give the complete history lesson or crash course on the 7 gods of the faith, the Septas, the Septons, the Silent Sisters, but what's more interesting is the symbolism in the faith of the 7 and what it could mean. There are 7 gods, and they have 7 meanings. The Father, the Mother, the Maiden, the Warrior, the Smith, the Crone, and the Stranger. Each of these gods has their own meaning or aspects, and each of these gods make one. Each of these gods allegedly walked the earth in Andalos before conquering Westeros. Now, gods walking the earth in a George R.R. Martin story is not likely, as most of the gods in this story are not real gods. Think about it like this. If this great magical evil was defeated by humans, and these humans live to tell the story, then it may be these humans who are looked to as gods. Gods on earth. If almost everyone dies but only Jon and Dany live after defeating something of great power with all the odds against them, then they themselves will be read in history and legend as gods. There has been a lot of arguments put forth in Daenerys' case already as Daenerys being God's chosen or a god on earth. George has already made one family that encompasses all aspects of the 7, and it seems to foreshadow some futures of these characters. The Starks. The father is depicted as a bearded man with a stern and strong face. Judgment is said to belong to the father. Additionally, he protects his children. He is often prayed to for justice, and the phrase, "May the Father judge him justly," is often said among followers of the Seven. Ned Stark is a bearded man with a strong, stern face, and he sits in judgment always. His judgment of the crimes of the Lannisters is basically his downfall, and his life ends at the Sept of Baelor while he is judged guilty and punished for treason. The mother is a loving and protective aspect of the Seven. She often is asked for mercy and to keep loved ones safe. Offerings can be made to the mother when a woman becomes pregnant to praise the mother for giving the gift of life. Catelyn Stark is the mother. It is her mercy and the love of her children that brings about her family's downfall. While trying to protect her children in every way possible, she winds up being executed at the Red Wedding, witnessing her son dying in front of her, and ultimately the safety net that her children had was gone forever, and now they were truly on their own. The Maiden is a beautiful, innocent-looking young woman. People might pray to the Maiden to keep young women safe, to guard their virginity, and to forgive them for promiscuous behavior. The Maiden is also prayed to for love. Sansa encompasses all aspects of the Maiden. She is beautiful, noble, and innocent looking, and she was actually pretty innocent to a foolish fault. Sansa's downfall was her innocence and her dreams of love and beauty. The Maiden being raped is a travesty, but that is what happened to Sansa. Do you see the pillars of the faith crumbling yet? Next we have the warrior. The warrior is always depicted with his sword and protects followers of the Seven from their foes. The warrior is often prayed to for courage. Most men make offerings to the warrior before battle, while others might say a prayer. Additionally, people might beseech the warrior for favorable condition during battle, to watch over soldiers, to give them strength, to keep them safe both in battle and outside of battle, and help the warriors to victory. Robb Stark is the warrior. It's said that he always rides into battle where the fighting is the thickest. He's won every battle that he's participated in, and his death comes not in battle, but at the hands of cowards and traitors, the hands of his own allies over dinner. The stranger is neither male nor female, yet both at the same time. He's the outcast, the wanderer from far places, less and more than human, unknown and unknowable. His face is the face of death. He leads the newly deceased to the other world. Those who feel like outcasts might light a candle for the stranger. Arya is the stranger. She is sometimes a boy, sometimes a girl. She is an outcast. She's the wanderer. She wanders all through the Riverlands before boarding a ship to Braavos, where she becomes the literal embodiment of death and an assassin. She can put on the face of a man or the face of a woman and give you the stranger's kiss, death. The crone is an old, wizened, and wise woman whose status often show her with a raised lamp in one hand. People pray to the crone for wisdom and guidance. Bran is the crone. No, Bran isn't a woman, but we don't really know what Bran is. All we know is Bran died in that cave. Bran is the three-eyed raven, and he has access to all of the wisdom of the trees. The smith is depicted with his hammer, and he is the mender of broken things, who puts the world of men to right. Septons teach to pray to the smith for strength, and sailors might make offerings to the smith prior to launching a ship, as to keep their ship safe. Followers of the Seven can show their devotion to the smith by wearing a small iron hammer around their neck. The smith is tricky, but not that tricky. The smith is not a god that's prayed to often, especially not by the rich. He's somewhat of a forgotten god, a deity whose story is confusing, much like Rickon, a story going nowhere. And this comes about because the holy text teaches that the fact that the Andals forged iron has been taken by some as proof that the Seven guided them, that the smith himself taught them this art. But the Rhoynar were already an advanced civilization at this time, and they too knew of iron. So it takes only the study of a map to realize that the earliest Andals must have had contact with the Rhoynar. So much like Rickon's story, the Smith story is confusing and doesn't make sense. Rickon's fate will be much different in the books, but without a doubt, he still will die. He could be in Skagos teaching the Skagosi how to warg, teaching the isolated Skagosi what he knows, that to them would be much of an advancement. So you can kind of see what George did and what this could mean for the future. Now, you might be asking, how does Jon and Daenerys fit into this equation? Before the Sept of Baelor is exploded, the very place that the 7 gods are worshipped, Qyburn says this to Grand Maester Pycelle.
But sometimes before we can usher in the new, the old must be put to rest.
So I believe the new gods, the faith of the 7, will manifest their self in the heroes of this story. And these heroes will be the guardians of Jon and Daenerys' baby, Hugor of the Hill. They will pull down the stars for this baby. Not literal stars, but the eyes of the White Walkers, the blue eyes that burn like stars. There will be a new father, a new mother, maiden, warrior, smith, crone, and stranger. The father, Jon Snow, is fitting. Jon is a lot like Ned Stark. He's honorable and just. The mother, Daenerys. Daenerys has to be the mother, both figuratively and literally. Daenerys is already the mother of dragons and Misa to the slaves that she has freed. The world is her child. The stranger, Arya. Do I need to explain it again? She is new. Who she was is dead. She was reborn the stranger. The crone, Bran, the same applies. The maiden, I believe, is Brienne. Brienne is mocked as Brienne the Beauty, but inside, Brienne is the most beautiful and innocent character in this story. The warrior, the Hound. The Hound had an entire faith quest on the Quiet Isle, and no one in the story has more strength and prowess in battle than Sandor Clegane. The Smith, Gendry. Gendry knows how to rework Valyrian steel, where we're at least assuming that. And he learned it from Tobo Mott. Tobo Mott is from Qohor, standing at the banks of a tributary off of the Rhoyne. Do you see how this rhymes with history? What do you think? If the 7 were to come again, who would they be, and what could that mean? As always, thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone who supports me on Patreon. If you like this video and videos like this, then please give it a thumbs up. Please click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and join the Sweet Summer family. Okay, my sweet summer children, have a good day.